Hey, what's up? So let's talk a little bit about adding and subtracting with negative numbers. Let me write that up here. Adding, subtracting, negative numbers. All right, cool. Get my pencil back. All right. So these are the numbers I want to play with right here. 3 and 5. All right, check it out. So first of all, whenever you're getting an understanding of negative numbers, it's important to at least consider using a number line. So let's do this right here. Draw a number line. And 0 is here in the middle. All right, here we go. So to the right of 0 is your positive numbers. Because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To the left of 0 is negative numbers. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. All right, so check this out. Say we wanted to add 3 plus 5. 3 plus 5, that's easy. That's 8. So that's adding positive numbers. So you start at 3, and then I need to put another thing here, and you add 5. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gets you to 8. Easy enough. All right. Now, what if 3 was a negative number? Okay, what if 3 was a negative number and we still wanted to add it to 5? All right, so let's do this here. So what I'm saying is, what if 3 is not negative and then we added a 5? So -3 plus 5. Now, -3 is 3 below 0. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's 3 below 0. All right, so if we want to add that to 5, let's start at -3 and then add 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is +2. Now, if you notice, that is the exact same thing as if you reverse these. 5 minus 3, that is also 2. You see what I'm saying? So that's another way to rewrite -3 plus 5. Just keeping in mind that 3 is a negative number in both of these places. All right, fair enough. And I just even illustrate that here. If you had 5 and you took away 3, that's 1, 2, 3, and you get to the same place. So it works exactly the same. All right, cool. Now, so what if 3 was positive and 5 was a negative number? So in other words, okay, so this is one example. This is another example. Example number 3 is if 3 is positive and you're wanting to add it to -5. So the important thing to know with this kind of situation where you're adding a negative number to a positive number is, if you're adding a negative number, it's the same thing as just subtracting the number. So in other words, 3 plus -5 is the same thing as 3 minus 5. Okay, so that negative just changes that sign to a negative. Okay, that's a simpler way of writing it. 3 minus 5 is -2, and let me show you. So if you start at 3 and you take away 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is -2. Okay, so if you add a negative number, it's the same thing as just subtracting that number. If you add a negative number, it's the same thing as just subtracting that number. Okay, another example. What if 3 and 5 were negative? So -3 plus -5. Okay, so just like we said here, if you add a negative number, it's the same thing as just subtracting that number. So -3 plus -5 becomes -3 minus 5. Okay, now check this out. Another very important, hopefully I can, okay, hold on. I know that's going to happen. All right, so anyhow, check this out. So -3 minus 5. So another thing to note is when you subtract negative from a negative number, it becomes more negative. If you start at -3, and I'm gonna have to add this here, and you minus 5, that means you go more negative. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, it becomes -8. Subtracting from a negative number makes that number more negative, okay? Another thing that's really important to remember is this. So say, for example, you have -8 and -3. Which one is greater? The one that's greater is the one that is the closest to 0. Because if you note, the more you go to the right, the greater the numbers become. So the number that's closer to 0, in this case, -3, is the greater one. As you notice, it works the opposite way with positive numbers. Obviously, with positive numbers, 8 is greater than 3. Okay, so in that case, it's the number that's further away. If any of this gets confusing to you, please just take your time, go back through this video and pause and really think about this stuff, okay? All right. And the other example that I want to do is this here. Say you have a negative number and you subtract a negative number from it. So -3 minus -5. And this can be a little bit confusing, but literally the only thing you really need to remember from this kind of example is this. When you subtract a negative number, the two negatives make a positive. So in other words, -3 minus -5 becomes -3 plus 5. When you have two negatives, they make a positive, okay? Remember that. Subtracting a negative number makes it just adding that positive number. So then your problem now is -3 plus 5 like we had out here, and that's just 2. This negative number becomes 5 units more positive, okay? Watch this video carefully and make sure you absorb it. These are some key tips to remember when you're adding and subtracting negative numbers. Practice it. And again, please rewind the video, whatever you need to do to make sure that you totally get this. I really hope that this is helpful.